See how when you push it, how it makes that line? So it's... Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. It is a beautiful day here for now. It's gonna rain tomorrow and it's gonna cool off, but we'll take it. And you can see here, I got this new fancy little tool thing for seeding that we're gonna talk about today. But you can see it's been warm because we put the shade cloth on the greenhouse. So there's that. But let's talk about this seeder and I'll show you how it's performed so far in my garden. First of all, why would I want to get a seeder like that? And I mean, you can see that we have raised beds. So we don't have a huge amount of space to work inside of the raised bed. So that's been a limitation of mine. And truth be told, like I wanted to ultimately get, once I started learning about like wheel hose and stuff like that, I wanted to get something like that, but for my garden, it just didn't work. And I took to the internet and I went searching and I found this tool. And I was quite skeptical and I'm still not 100% sold on it, but I've used it and I've got some results of stuff from it. And it looks kind of weird, but believe it or not, it's pretty functional. So this is a Varomorus. I'll put a link below for you guys to check it out. I left the sticker on the wheel so I could read it to you. And it's not easy to use. I will say that. It's a little bit complicated. It takes some setup. But once I got it going, I came out here and I sowed some turnips. I sowed some carrots, some beets, some radishes, and then some daikon radishes. And we'll go around and I'll show you how it spaced them out and everything and the kind of the process I went through learning how to use this, because the instructions that came with it were like totally garbage. So it just took a little bit of trial and error. I couldn't find a lot of videos about it or a lot of people talking about it online. So there was that. And what I did find, they actually were using it wrong. So a little bit of looking and studying at how it actually worked kind of helped. But let's look at the actual seeder and I'll show you the different parts of it. So what you're gonna get is you're gonna get this seeder itself, and it does not come with a handle, so you're gonna have to add that. I actually had this piece of 3/4 inch dowel rod. You can get them at like a Lowe's or Home Depot pretty cheap, and just put it in, screwed it in, and it works pretty good. I still need to tighten it up a little bit, but it comes, and then the wheels, you know, they're plenty big, so they go over the surface, and I'll show you how it works too. And then on the inside, it comes with different spacers. So if you can see that, and as you turn it, you can see that the seed will fall in, and then it'll drop through this into the ground. So pretty straightforward. Now, when you want to change everything, you got to take, if you want to change the spacer or anything in here, you've got to take this bolt off, one of these bolts off, pull the wheel off, and then you've got to pull this out, unscrew this, pull it out, and then you can put the new spacer in and put it back together. So it is not super easy to use, but it worked great for what I did. I did buy this for an initial purpose, and it's not going to do what I want it to do. So the two things that I bought it for were carrots and corn. It's going to sow the carrots, it's already sowed the carrots, but it's not going to sow corn. It's not made for that. You have to buy a whole nother one specifically for corn. And they have them so they do multiple rows. I was cheap. I got one just for the single row. Not a big deal for me, but I am a little bummed out that I won't do for single rows, and I'm trying to see if the company will sell the space, if the spacer that they have for corn will fit into the seeder, but I don't think it will. But the cool thing is the company will send you a blank space, or so you can drill for seeders in, but I think it may be a little bit more difficult than I want to get into, a little bit more precision. So I'm gonna have to look into that. But if I have to sow corn by hand, that's fine. The kernels are big, but carrots can be a pain in the butt to sow. They're so small, and then the overcrowding is a real issue. So let's look and see how those have grown so far. So I came out here and I sowed basically everything at once. And the whole thought process was, okay, we're just gonna sow it and see what it does and put the allotted amount in and see how the spacing works out, all that stuff. I wasn't overly concerned about it because I really want this thing to work. It saves on your back and time. And unfortunately, carrots take a long time, but you can see, like, here's one, and then here's another one. So you've got about 2 inches in between. those. And then if we come here, you can see about the same thing. So it looks to me, and I mean, this is early on, we still have probably another week before they all start coming up really good. But as I go down, for the most part, you can see that they have, in fact, there's 2 right there. That is a pretty good spacing in my mind. I will take that. It's a lot better than like what I have in the greenhouse. You know, like back here, it's overcrowded. And that was just my fault when I did that one. The other ones kind of got mixed up, but the carrot seeds can be so small, it's really difficult. So I did other ones too, and in the same bed I did radishes, and this is a good sign right here because the radishes came up quick. That's why I did them at the same time, so I could kind of get an idea. And I'm pretty happy with the spacing for that. It's not perfect, but for me to not have to bend over, and I sowed 3 rows of them in about 5 minutes. It works great for me. Here's the radishes here, and you can see there's a pretty good spacing in between. That's pretty uniform for the most part. And I mean, you know, we might have to come back in and pluck a couple out, but for the most part, like right here is a little cluster, and that could very well be operator error on my part. But I can handle this a lot better than just like a clump here and a clump here and a clump here. So we definitely have a good starting point for this. Before I show you the trick to using it, I want to just look at the other ones real quick. So here's the turnips, which is the first one I did. And now I do remember on this one, I did it the way I had watched on some of the other videos, and it was confusing to me. And then so I did it one way, and then I was like, it didn't seem like it worked well. And then I did it another way, and then it was working well. But so we ended up with a little bit of this. Here you can see we've got a clusterly gobbledygoo of turnips. So yeah, it's not my best work, but again, it was a learning process. So this one I totally anticipated being messed up, and I actually came back and just sowed right down the line with these after I knew how it worked. And you can see here's a turnip, here's a turnip, here's a turnip. There's a small cluster, but 1, 2, 3 with plenty of spacing in between. So that's a pretty good sign if you ask me. To a good start with those. We're starting to go on our rows. The spacing seems to be right. Like I said, once I figured it out, because this next bed over here is where we did a couple beets and then some daikon radishes. And so this is the one where I think I have figured out kind of how to use it at this point. And these are coming up a lot better too, so we can see. And the spacing looks, it's not phenomenal, but again, better than by hand. So the beets are here. They're not really coming up yet. There's one here, and then that's all I see, so I don't know. But the daikon radishes are here, and you can see, you know, we've got a good inch or 2 inches in between them for the most part. So that's a pretty good spacing if you ask me. I'll take that. It's nice and organized, and it's straightforward to use. Ooh. Now, regretfully, right now I don't have anything to actual seed here. Oh wait, hold on. I gotta show you my spinach too. I sowed the spinach, and this was another big one. The seeds are bigger. They're not uniform, they're not smooth, so I didn't know how they'd go. And you can pack a lot into a small space, and they're all germinating really good. These are actually pretty easy to see too. And so check these out. So you can see we've got a tight spacing, and I think this is another one where I kind of went over the same line twice. But you can see we've got pretty decent spacing. I'm gonna have to pluck every other one out, but it's not a big deal. And I did a row here and then here. So you can see going down the line how they're coming up. And that's pretty good, I'll take it. It's a lot better than I would do. I mean, it took me, the reason why I did them all at the same time was because it took so little time to do it that I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And I just started banging them out, you know, real quick. So I think I seeded all of that you've just seen in about 15 minutes with 5 minutes to change a spacer. So it's not too terribly bad. And I've got a blank spot over here, so we'll do like a mock-up of what we can plant. Again, I put this dowel rod on here, So it's a 3/4 inch dowel rod. You can get them. They're usually about 6 or 8 feet. I went a little bit long because I'm taller. And so I want to be able to go across my bed without having to bend over real crazy, okay? So now one thing I'll tell you to do is do a dry run beforehand if you get it. And like I did it on my garage floor where I just kind of put some seeds in and went really slow just to see like, boom, how many it would drop. And sometimes it dropped 2, but generally speaking, it was dropping 1 at a time. Now, when you look at this, you would think, oh, okay, you just go in here and you put it in, gonna push it, right? And see how when you push it, how it makes that line, so it's gonna drop the seeds, right? But the thing is look at this. It gets all clogged, bad. So that's how I got all those clusters. I do that, and then I come in and I clean it out, and then it would drop all of them. So that's not how you use this, okay? It's different than what you would think. So what you do is you put it in and you hold it up a little bit. So you don't want to hold it like this. You want the wheels to be on the ground, and then you pull it. And see, let me get to where it's not going to make a line, a new line. And so then it starts making that line. And so then what I do is I come back, and wherever the wheel mark was for this tightly fit stuff is I just put it on top of the old wheel mark and then just do it again. And that's how you get that nice spacing. And so you can see that's like, let's say 3-inch row spacing. And so that works really good for, you know, your radishes, everything that I've basically planted so far. Everything that I planted so far, you know, you can tightly pack it in, which was my plan. If I was gonna sow anything else, then I could adjust the spacing as needed. Testing the different ones, it's gonna take a little bit of setup. I mean, I can't stress that enough. It's really gonna take a little bit of setup and a little bit of testing. But for instance, in my greenhouse, it's gonna be a game changer, because I'll be able to get those carrots in there better. I do a lot of direct seeding in there, so I'll be able to get all that stuff in there a lot easier, and it'll space a lot better, and it makes it for a more productive garden, essentially. So a couple things I learned about If You Care So Much is that is made in Ukraine, so it supports Ukrainian farmers. So however you feel about that, that is one thing about it, which I personally liked. A lot of our crops come from Ukraine. That's why our fertilizers and stuff have gone up in price since the whole war started. So it was just kind of a nice added benefit. It seems to be a very small company. You can get it on Amazon. I'll put an Amazon link below that will take you to where all the products that we use and know and have, you know, tested are on there. And then we'll actually get a little super tiny kickback from that, so it'd be nice. But usually I don't recommend a lot of products, but this one seemed to be a really good game changer, and it kind of fixed a problem I have. Now, what would I use it with? Obviously carrots, beets, spinach, radishes. I would use it for onion seeds if I wanted to direct sow those. I think it would work really well for onion seeds. Mustard in the fall I would use it for. I'm probably going to use it for parsnips as well. There's just so many different things, and these are all the things that I like to direct sow. There's plenty more. I mean, you could do like herbs and stuff like that with it. I wouldn't use any kind of like real small dusty seed, you know, anything that's just real super fine. I think you would get a lot of kickback on it, but the different spacers have different size holes. And so that kind of, like I use the smallest one for carrots. And you know, you and I both know that you can plant carrots close to each other. So it kind of worked out well. And then the smaller hole just eliminated getting like a lot of multiples in a single hole. Because for years what I would do is I would take like my hoe and I'd rake down, and then I'd just go through and like sprinkle seeds in, and you can't do that efficiently for something like carrots at all. So we'll find out more in the next week or two how the carrots are going to be spaced, and I'll share that with you as we do other things in the garden. I'll keep coming back to it, but it seems to really be the kicker for it. Oh, chard is another good one for it. Chard would be really good, and cilantro. I mean, can you have enough cilantro? Really? So that would all work really well with this. The directions do not tell you in any way what you can use, what seeds will go with it. You just kind of got to figure it out, which is kind of a hard thing. But I think for like $25, like I'm good. So it's $25 for that. And then I think it's like another $8 for the dowel rod to make the handle. And if you see me using it and it's got duct tape on the handle, that's because when I bought my dowel rod, I didn't see a giant split down it. So I'll end up making a better one eventually, but for right now, it'll work. And I may end up actually getting a wider one. I think you could fit a 1-inch diameter dowel rod in there for a handle, but it's light use. You're not really doing a whole lot with it. If your soil's fluffy, you're just kind of dragging it through. And as long as those wheels are turning, you're dropping seeds. So remember that. The wheels gots to be turning.